What is going on, everyone? This is the 2020 Fantasy Aces Awards night. It's going to be a good one. I'm your host, Joe Belacqua, and with me we got Sonny Chowdhury, Nathan Hollerman, and Mike Hendel. We're going over awards today. It was a heck of a season. A lot of stuff happened. And, I'm going to list some nominees for each award, but the awards that we will be going over with tonight is Rookie of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, Steal of the 2020 Fantasy Draft, the Bust of the Year, Breakout Player of the Year, Most Valued Player on your team, the Best Waiver Wire Pickup of the Year, and the MVP of the 2020 season, along with who won the Fantasy Aces Playoff Bowl. So we're going to go over that, the nominees for that, and then after each award, we're going to talk about our own opinion on whether we thought it was the right person for that award. But before we get that, Nate, how you doing, man? How was the last week of fantasy football for you, huh?
I mean, I don't think it really mattered at this point for me. As soon as I knew the season started, as soon as Chubb injury hit me, I was like, this is going to be the year. This is going to be the year. And then Julio stopped doing good things for me, and then I think I knew, but it was, I think, a relaxing rest in peace kind of end to the season for me. So
see, that's why dynasty leagues are fun, man.
I gotta get one. I gotta get one.
You gotta do a dynasty league. You always watch your players. You watch them grow. It's a better type of league, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mike, how are you feeling after that Raiders Miami? I mean, both of you, Sonny and Mike, that was one heck of a game. Respect to Fitzmagic. But Mike, how are you feeling about that?
I mean, the Raiders were already out of it. I mean, I guess not technically, but they would have been the next day. I wasn't too sad. I guess I just wanted to see Ruggs do something. But no.
I mean, just after that throw and then the acknowledgement by Patrick Mahomes saying that was one of the best no-lookers I've ever seen. Congrats to Fitzpatrick, really leading them possibly to the playoffs. So that was huge. Sonny, how'd your week go? I mean, Cardinals in a tough spot. They got to win next week. You got a good matchup.
I mean, it was definitely a disappointing loss, but again, playoffs start early, control our own destiny. Now we got no Goff and potentially no Cup. So, I'm optimistic, playoffs starting early. Hopefully we get this dub and get into the playoffs. So I'm ready. Looking forward to it.
All right. Sounds great. Oh, by the way, I thank you, Stephon Diggs, for winning me my championship. You and Devontae Adams. 3 touchdowns each, about 145 yards. You guys are phenomenal, and you're the reason that I won, or I would have been in big trouble. So thank you to those 2 wide receivers. Also, something we had to discuss at the end of the year, Mike and Sonny's bet, DJ Moore versus Robbie Anderson. Here's the problem. We never set what format we wanted to do, and here's the results. Robbie Anderson ranked 25th in standard and 15th in PPR. DJ Moore ranked 18th in standard and 23rd in PPR. DJ Moore won standard, but Robbie Anderson won PPR. So we didn't decide which format.
Wow. We picked 2 formats, right? We were doing 2?
Yeah, it's a weird thing. I was looking at other wide receivers, and usually they're a little bit off in their standard PPR. These guys are like way off. Like you guys picked the 2 best.
We gotta know what's the half PPR. We gotta be able to find that somehow, right?
Yeah, that's true. I can do the half PPR in the next episode. I will announce that. But that was good. I mean, you guys both won in different types of leagues, I guess. So that was a good bet to have. And also,
did you see the Deontay Johnson Juju one?
Oh, yeah.
I did not look at that one. We can announce that one for next episode. I just know this was the big one, and we did this from like week 2 into the season?
Yeah.
It was a pretty early bet.
They're close.
I don't even know. I don't even know about that one either. So I'm excited to even find out about that too.
The next game will decide it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's true, and the season's not over yet.
Wow.
So I'm just saying,
That's crazy. Holy moly.
Something to watch for. We all got to keep our eyes on that Steelers game. Hopefully they play too. That's another big one.
Fantasy season's over, but we still got the bets going, which I love. A little fantasy stat that I like doing every episode now from Kevin Keenely on Twitter. Calvin Ridley is the 7th player in NFL history to have 200 plus receptions, 3,000 plus yards, and 26 plus touchdowns within his first 3 seasons. Other guys that did that: Jerry Rice, Mike Evans, Odell, AJ Green, Randy Moss, and Andre Reason. So that's a huge award that Calvin Ridley got. What a Pro Bowl snub, by the way. After, I mean, this guy ranked really high, but just a fantasy stat for the day. And then some news rundown for the league. NFC East battle for Week 17. Who's going to win it? This is going to be huge for Week 17. Absolutely huge. Jalen Hurts really has shown that he wants to be the quarterback for the Eagles. So it's going to be Carson Wentz or Jalen Hurts next year. That's something to also look forward to. Dwayne Haskins has been released by Washington. I think we all saw that when we saw the backup go and absolutely ball, trying to win against the Panthers. And Stephon Diggs, 3 touchdowns, and Josh Allen, 4 touchdowns. They destroy the Patriots. The Patriots are in trouble, guys. Like, after I know they have a lot of people missing and stuff, but their offense is in a rut. I don't like how they operate their offense, and they just got destroyed. But that is the news that we have for tonight. And now it's time to get to the award ceremony. I'm going to present 9 awards. I'm going to give you the topic name, the nominees, and I'll list the winner, and then we'll discuss what you guys think about each award. Get in the first one. Rookie of the Year, all right? Now, we had James Robinson and Nate, do you have a problem with my envelopes?
I love them. I think this is going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing.
High quality, Joe. High quality.
Thank you. All right, so James Robinson, one of the early guys in the beginning of the year, CeeDee Lamb, and then later we got a huge break from Herbert, Justin Jefferson, Jonathan Taylor. We had a great rookie class. So the nominees, and by the way, thank you to all the family, friends, the company, everyone who filled out that survey for the voting pool for this. We got a good amount of votes. This is based on your guys' opinion. So the nominees are James Robinson, Justin Jefferson, Justin Herbert, and Jonathan Taylor. All right. And the winner is, for the Rookie of the Year, James Robinson. James Robinson, you get the Rookie of the Year. Congrats. Sonny, what do you feel about that? Out of the whole rookie pool, did he deserve it?
I mean, I agree. That was my vote. I think it was well earned. He was someone that was either taken the last round or off the waiver. And for the most part, he didn't let you down. I mean, receivers, pretty easy to find. You can always stream a quarterback, but just something about having that solidified running back that's going to get you touches and never let you down, that's hard to find. So I think it's well deserved.
Hey, how do you feel about that? I know you're more of a Justin Jefferson guy.
You can't go wrong with James Robinson. I mean, for what the situation he's in Jacksonville, it's a shame, but what a stud. I mean, what a stud. The kid is amazing, and he's gonna have such a bright future in the NFL. I mean, it was close. It hadn't been close, but at least Justin Herbert put on a show this year coming into a Chargers team. But I definitely got to go with James Robinson. That's a good choice. He deserves that.
And I'm going to point out before we get to Mike, I was looking at the voting. It was between Justin Jefferson and James Robinson. James Robinson won by 1 vote. So it was very split between those 2 players.
Wow.
And, realistically, we all did the survey, and I voted for James Robinson. I don't know about you guys. So who knows? One of us actually could have been the deciding vote for this award. Mike, how do you feel about it? Do you think Herbert should have won it, or do you think James Robinson was a move?
Now we know how Mike feels about it.
Yeah, he completely does not want James Robinson.
You said you think Justin Herbert should. Yeah, all right, I left.
So, he's coming back. There he is.
Yeah, I do think Herbert should have won it. I mean, look, I agree. James Robinson, great story. But, man, I just thought what Herbert did was so impressive. He only had 1 start with less than 20 points, so he's so consistent. And then he had 6 starts with 35-plus points, which is crazy. And he had more points than Lamar Jackson. He had more points than Tom Brady. I know you can list off. I feel like the running backs that were just busts or didn't do well are the ones – that were below Robinson, and he took advantage of great opportunity. He's a great player, but man, I like Herbert in that spot.
Yeah, I mean, to be clear, in real life, I would give my Rookie of the Year vote to Justin Herbert, but from a fantasy perspective, I got to go with James Robinson. But I see where you're coming from, Mike.
he kind of died in the end, James Robinson, so it kind of becomes a little irrelevant, like leading to the end of the season. But in the beginning, the man was a stud. So
the dude was
But
a
yeah.
rock. He got you to the playoffs most likely. So, well,
wow,
deserved.
shocked about it.
Traded
No
him.
one voted for
I did.
CD. No one voted for CD in the pool. No one voted for CD
Good.
Lamb, so that was pretty shocking. All right, guys. Second award, Comeback Player of the Year. The nominees are Josh Allen, David Montgomery, Corey Davis, Nick Chubb, Kyler Murray, Tom Brady, Big Ben, and Aaron Rodgers. Those are the nominees for Comeback Player of the Year. And the winner of Comeback Player of the Year for the 2020 season goes to Josh Allen. Josh Allen is the winner of the Comeback Player of the Year. I mean, we can't really argue against that after what just happened last night. The guy is absolutely crazy. He might not fit the bill totally for the topic question, but I think
Yeah.
just from the standpoint of the amount of points that he had last year compared to this year, I guess it's a sort of comeback, but there's a lot of people that actually voted Josh Allen. So he is the Comeback Player of the Year. Nate, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, Josh Allen is amazing. It's not like he was like really bad last year. And I'll be honest with you, I know the Steelers aren't the real 11 and something team, but Ben Roethlisberger, for how old he is, the injury he was dealing with, I mean, he definitely could have won this. I think even by a long shot. But Josh Allen, well deserved, for bringing the Bills back from years and years upon desperate wins and upset losses and just being so close. Last year in the playoffs, but coming up short. So congrats to Josh Allen for the Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, Sonny, how do you feel about that? I see a little disagreement with this one.
Yeah, I mean, I love Josh Allen. I think he's top 3 in the MVP voting. Definitely, I'm glad he won an award. I just think it's the wrong one because Comeback Player of the Year, I was thinking more of the guys like Aaron Rodgers and Ben Roethlisberger. I actually voted for Josh Allen in another category, which I'm hoping he comes away with that one too. But I just don't think he fits the criteria of Comeback Player of the Year. But again, at least he got an award because he deserves some respect.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Mike, how do you feel on the matter?
I was thinking a guy you guys didn't even mention, and that was Kareem Hunt. He finished the year in PBR as running back 8. He had 1,100 scrimmage yards, 11 TDs, and in last year he was running back 47. And that's coming from a guy who was a superstar. So he's a superstar. He goes back all the way down and then comes back all the way up.
Yeah, Mike, I actually really like that. Yeah, I actually really like that.
And Mike, you're not a big fan of Kareem Hunt.
No, he's not. That's why I got shocked he said that.
When he said Kareem Hunt, I said, wait a second. What?
So I'm actually curious what you guys, because my vote was actually to Aaron Rodgers. Because I think from last year to this year, it was the old Aaron Rodgers again. So I'm curious what you guys thought about this.
It's tough to say like Aaron Rodgers, and I thought about that too. But like last year he had 4,000 yards and 26 touchdowns, and like it's still good. Like you come back from like, okay, not great, but like we're still really good. That's why I go with Kareem Hunt there.
Yeah,
like I said, it was Ben Roethlisberger for me. I know again the Steelers aren't the team that everyone thought they were, or at least they thought they were. But 33 touchdowns and 10 interceptions for Ben Roethlisberger. Coming back from
emptying though. It's emptying right now.
It is. He's
playoffs.
about to hit the E. He's super close to his gas lights on. So and that thing's not going to be refilled. So
yeah.
If he played in Week 16, I mean, he did well. So came in the clutch.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good comeback. But I think I like the Kareem Hunt one a lot. That was insane.
And Corey Davis, the guy was kind of irrelevant last year, and now he's really made his mark. So that's also a nice vote to have. David Montgomery been an absolute stud.
I feel like Corey Davis was never a superstar. Like that's what I was thinking. Like superstar.
Yeah.
Well, I think he had the potential of definitely becoming something, but I think it was like a little too late at this kind of point.
Like to come back, you had to be there.
That's true. Yeah. That is also true.
Yeah,
exactly. For most improved player.
Yeah, or like the breakout. I think Montgomery, Allen, Corey Davis, they just fit that breakout mold because, their ceiling is only up. They're not coming back from anything. But again, it's kind of confusing, so we weren't pretty clear with the criteria. But they definitely deserve some respect.
And then also Tom Brady was also one of the votes.
And that's an awesome.
Have the best season.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Tom Brady is definitely a good choice to have. Did you see now his stat for passes for more than 20 yards? It was 0 for 19 in the beginning of the season, and he's done pretty well after that. He's actually completed more than 50% of his passes from 20-plus yards after – you probably saw that stat, and he's like,
It
wow,
took some
I'm doing
time for
bad.
him getting used to the warm
Yeah.
weather.
He
Weather.
still has it, man. He still
He
has.
does. He does.
He's
I
not
mean,
slowed
yeah.
down. They
I
have
was
He's
super
connected
high
with
on
Mike
him.
Evans now. Now he's
I
finally
was super
connected with
high on
Mike
him at the
Evans.
beginning of the season. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, it's a LeBron James effect. You know, you just gotta make it through the regular season, and then when it comes playoff time, you
Yeah,
turn it
yeah,
on.
no,
That's what
he's
he's
right.
doing.
You know, get through that one rugged year of the new team, and look, it's an old thing. It's just they got to get used to the new area.
Yeah. All right, guys. For our next award, the steal of the 2020 draft. The nominees were Devontae Adams, Calvin Ridley, James Robinson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Boyd, J.K. Dobbins, Elvin Kamara, CeeDee Lamb, Stephon Diggs, and David Montgomery. There's a wide selection of votes on this one. And the winner of the steal of the 2020 draft, unfortunately, because we had an even amount of people voting, it became a split vote between Calvin Ridley and James Robinson. It was a split vote between the two.
Yeah.
I think we should decide it right here and now which one it should be.
Wow.
Yeah, Mike.
It can't be James Robinson. He wasn't drafted in most leagues. So how can you be a steal of a draft when you weren't drafted?
Apparently, there's a lot of people that actually did draft James Robinson. I'm not entirely
That's insane.
sure.
Well, see, here's the thing. I do think James Robinson will make an appearance later on for what Mike was talking, and that's the reason I didn't vote for James Robinson too, because I did it on draft picks. So I don't know how you guys were thinking about this, but I was looking at it from a draft perspective more than a waiver wire pickup.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. I'd
And
have to agree with that.
My pick for this is not any of the guys you mentioned either.
Really?
Oh, Mike,
Mike
What was yours?
all off.
never
Well,
is. It never is.
I mean, were quarterbacks excluded from this?
No.
No.
All right, so Aaron Rodgers. I mean,
And that's a great
one.
the MVP of the league, and he was. Let's see, his ADP was anywhere, and most sites had it 80 to 90, like average draft position. He had one game under 20 points this year.
Yeah.
Like
I like that. Yeah.
the guy
He
was
was definitely, yeah. He was in
And
my
like-
top three.
no one was drafting him to be their starter. Like he was always like a high quality backup for everyone who took him, and then he's destroying every week. So that's my steal.
Yeah, and that's another thing why we should be drafting late quarterbacks. Because, I mean, imagine you have the stacked roster and then you took Aaron Rodgers and who knows what, 12, 13 rounds. That's why, I mean, you got studs all over. And I personally, I went with Stephon Diggs, but the two guys I was deciding between were Diggs and Keenan Allen. I think Keenan Allen towards the end made it easier for me to vote for Diggs. But I do like the Aaron Rodgers call a lot because he was actually at 3 for me. But I agree with both of those too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would probably have to nullify James Robinson from this, but maybe just because Calvin Ridley actually was, not drafted high up there. Now he's like a second-round guy. He was in the 5th, late 4th round. So, get him in that position. This is what the people voted. Calvin Ridley / James Robinson. Don't really know why you'd be voting for James Robinson on this one because I actually voted for Calvin Ridley, and there's a multitude of Calvin Ridley. There was a couple Stephon Diggs, actually. And, for quarterback, I'm shocked that Aaron Rodgers wasn't in there. I did see a good amount of Elvin Kamara's actually as well. So, but it goes to those two guys for the steal of the 2020 draft. Time to get to our next award, and that is going to be the 2020 Bust of the Year. There's a good amount of busts, injury-related, non-injury-related, but the nominees are Michael Thomas, Ezekiel Elliott, Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, James Conner, Lamar Jackson, Chris Godwin, and Odell Beckham Jr. And the winner for the 2020 Bust of the Year goes to Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas is the Bust of the Year. He was projected to be the #1 wide receiver. Can't blame people for voting for Michael Thomas. Mike, how do you feel about that one?
Well, I mean, I feel like there's got to be I know I keep having a problem with the rules of these, but like it's tough with injuries, right? There should be an injury category and a bust category.
Mhm.
Because if you're putting injuries in, it's obviously Christian McCaffrey who went 1 overall and played in 3 games, right? So it would have to be that. And then if you're going non-injury, well, then you can't put Michael Thomas in there. And if you're going non-injury, like at all, then I'm putting Kenyon Drake just because I was mad at him and I drafted him. Most people drafted him second round, and he was the 14th highest scoring running back, which is like not lining up with what you're doing. But he's still scoring enough where you're putting him in every week. But he had one game where he like killed it for you. So that's what I'm doing. But it is tough with the injury designation versus not.
Yeah. No, that's true because I'm actually shocked not one person put Christian McCaffrey in the whole pool. Not one person put him, and that's kind of interesting to me. But I mean, to the viewers out there, Mike's not too happy with your guys voting out there. I mean, I'm surprised no one picked Christian McCaffrey. Nate, how do you feel about this? I mean Michael Thomas.
No, I mean it's understandable though, because I get it. Like if you have an injury, then you can't really say that they were a bust if they were out because of an injury. Now, if they played through the entire season and they weren't what you expected, especially when you drafted them in a certain round, then it can be understandable. My pick, and this is because I guess you would say injury related, would probably be Julio Jones for me because I drafted him so high, having so many expectations for him, and then bam, just barely played. And when he did, he was decent. He wasn't like phenomenal, but he was pretty good. But I think what frustrated me, and he wasn't such a high-ranked player, it was Devin Singletary because I had such high hopes for this guy. I know some didn't. Some expected him to be, pretty bad, which, I mean, he was. But I had actual faith in this running back to bounce back with the Bills to be good, but it just never happened. And so that would – but the Christian McCaffrey one, I mean – it's a shame what happened to that. But, yeah, Kenyon Drake, though, that's understandable. That's super understandable. That's a shame because – and the touches.
He's getting carries every week. He's getting
and it's not like he didn't have any touches. He had plenty of those and still couldn't produce for what the fantasy owners wanted him to do. So, I mean – Michael Thomas, though, is very understandable because they found out he's not so his quick slants aren't working all the time.
Yeah. And we're basing this off our own personal teams. Like, I'm completely – and I don't blame this player, but I'm completely disappointed with Chris Godwin. He didn't have the output that, a number one wide receiver would have. It's just all the weapons that Tampa Bay had on that team. He didn't get his share volume. But if the guy didn't get a touchdown, he wasn't having a good fantasy week. He was inconsistent. He got injured. That could be said for a lot of these players, with Julio Jones, complete disappointment. The guy's played through hamstring issues. Like, he's my number one player in the NFL. I love the dude, but he could have played. They just didn't want him to play. What a complete bust. Lamar Jackson, I took the guy in the first round. You didn't do first round work for me. That was also another bust, but that's just how the offense played. I don't really personally blame him. He didn't even have offensive weapons to throw it to. So there's just a bunch of busts.
Lamar Jackson had like a decent year. Like, he wasn't a bad quarterback. Like, if you had him, you were probably playing him.
Decent, but a bust for drafting in the first round.
Well, yeah, here's the thing about Lamar Jackson. He's turning up now, so if you made to the playoffs, I mean, you're probably looking good. But that's the thing. Did he even get you to the playoffs? So, I think it's fair to classify him as a bust because he didn't return the value that we were expecting.
Yeah, exactly.
He absolutely did not. He went from he was a quarterback plus. Remember that, Mike? He was a quarterback plus.
But in the later games, he was
a quarterback minus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, actually, one more thing I want to talk about for me personally, it was actually Zach Ertz. And I know he dealt with the injuries too, but I mean, if you look at the guys taken before and after him, I mean, the dude wasn't even worth the streamer even when he was playing. So that was one of my biggest busts.
He was. He was very bad this year. He was.
All right. Going to the breakout player of the 2020 season. The nominees are Derrick Henry, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, Josh Allen, Calvin Ridley, James Robinson, Darren Waller, Alvin Kamara, and Cole Beasley. And the award that goes to the breakout player of the year. I swear I'm not tampering with these. These are the votes, okay? These are the people's votes. But the breakout player of the year went to Calvin Ridley. He got another award. It did go to Calvin Ridley. Over 1,300 yards, 9 touchdowns, about 100 receptions. I mean, he did absolutely great. especially when Julio Jones was out. He proved he could be a number one wide receiver. I'm not doing this. It's the people that are voting this, but Calvin Ridley got the breakout player of the year. But we'll start with Sonny. Voice your opinion on other players that could have gotten that award.
And first, I just want to say I think that's a great pick. I mean, I personally would have voted for Josh Allen because what he did this year was amazing. I think fantasy's a little skewed, but like just him watching him from being an inaccurate quarterback to dropping dimes on the field. But again, I got no problem with the Calvin Ridley call. And I really want to avoid rookies for breakouts because I don't really think it's fair to classify them as a breakout player.
Yeah.
But someone else that I think is worth considering was Corey Davis too. So those were
I would have to agree with that. And, what about someone that's not on here, Stephon Diggs? He did have a breakout year himself, just being on a new team. It's really hard to adjust on a new team and put up the stats that he did. Stephon Diggs, I think you should have been included in that. Nate, who do you think really should have been the breakout player of the year, or do you agree?
I mean, I don't think there's a I don't think it's the wrong answer. I think Calvin Ridley is obviously being on the team with Julio, and with Julio getting injured, he really stepped up this year. But I really liked Cole Beasley. I really did. Yeah. I mean, Cole Beasley, he had a career high of, I believe it was around 967 yards. It's career high. He had 4 touchdowns. That's touchdowns. It's like whatever. Almost 1,000 yards this year with Stephon Diggs next to him. And, a big step up from this entire, Bills team. I like Cole Beasley. He got out of Dallas. He went into Buffalo. He still produced. He's I think he's one of the most consistent wide receivers, number 2 wide receivers out there that can play at a high level. So I think breakout player would probably be, for me personally, Cole Beasley, even though he's an ex-Cowboy. But I like Calvin Ridley a lot. I do.
All right. And Mike, who do you feel should have been breakout player of the year?
Again, it depends on the rules. I think if you're including rookies, which maybe you shouldn't because some rookies are going to break out from nothing, and they all are. So if you are including rookies, then I would vote for James Robinson because he bona fide himself as a top 10 pick next year. But if you're not, I do like Calvin Ridley because he bona fide himself as a top, maybe even top 10 pick next year, just with that insane production that he had, which I don't think anyone could have guessed that he would do. Even if they were like, oh, Julio Jones is out. Oh, Calvin Ridley's going to have over, 1,300 yards and however many touchdowns and, be as consistent as he was. So if no rookies are in it, which is probably fair, then I like Calvin Ridley. I think the spirit of the award is who went from good player to superstar.
Yeah. I agree with that. All right, guys. We do have a couple more awards to go. So the next one is most valued player on your team. Now, this is going to be different than the award for the MVP of the 2020 season. This is people's personal teams who they had on their team that really won them the championship. So it's going to, have a different effect. But the nominees are Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, Justin Jefferson, DK Metcalf, Kamara, Aaron Jones, Patrick Mahomes, Cole Beasley, Kyler Murray, and Darren Waller. And the award for the most valued player on your team went to Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook won the award for the most valued player on your team. I was interested in this one. I highly think that Devontae Adams should be respected in this discussion here. I think he was one heck of a player this year. He was my vote. But I'm kind of shocked it was Dalvin Cook, but not really. The guy was phenomenal. Mike, what do you believe on that one?
So on my personal fantasy team, I would have to go Stephon Diggs. I traded for him because I thought that it was so, he was so great, and I gave up some really good players, and and it worked out in the playoffs, but not enough, as we've talked about before, and I complain about every episode. But man, Stephon Diggs, dude, he's got the same quarterback, and he's going to be just as good next year, and he's so awesome. It's just fun to see, him go to a new place and do so well and just keep just crushing it. And it doesn't it feels like they have enough around him where you can't double him every play. So and Cole Beasley will kill you too. So Stephon Diggs just had it felt like every week he's just doing more and more and more too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of shocking. Cole Beasley was on here, but not Stephon Diggs, and I think it's just because the guy was a flex spot, Cole Beasley, and he was outperforming the other team on the flex spot, so that's probably why they picked him.
Yeah.
Sonny, how do you feel about it? There's a large question.
No, yeah. I mean, you really can't go wrong with this. I mean, whoever you had, if he got you to the championship, congrats. But for me personally, I mean, it was Travis Kelce. And I mean, I actually traded for him. I traded the guy that we talked about earlier, Calvin Ridley, and some other big package. And I got Travis Kelce. And then every single week, I just had that huge advantage at tight end. And I let the rest of my team figure it out. You know, I had an amazing season, 11-2, went to the championship, and I got Travis Kelce to thank for that. So, I mean, he was easily my most valued player on any team that I had.
Yeah, I agree with that. If we're talking about value, I mean, Darren Waller and Travis Kelce were both nominated. Those guys in a tight end position completely outperform other tight ends, so they have to be included in this discussion. You know, Travis Kelce should have been included in a lot of other awards that we just presented earlier. He has been breaking records.
Straight up, I mean, he should be number 5 in like MVP straight up voting for the NFL. Travis Kelce, like,
how is he not though? Why is it so biased towards
tight ends are not as respected as much as the other positions?
But he's playing like a receiver.
It's just a team.
Like, what would Mahomes be without him? I don't know, because he's so good.
That's true.
I don't know what Mahomes would be without him.
Nate, who do you think should have been most valued player on your personal team?
My personal team, jeez.
Fulgham. Do you have Fulgham?
I did not Fulgham. I tried to get him
another bus. Talk about another bus.
I know. I can't even blame Fulgham, but that's a whole nother story. I have to blame the entire organization for that. But I probably would say, even though he had a few iffy games at very low points once in a blue moon, DK Metcalf for me, he was probably one of the only consistent wide receivers on my team that kept doing his thing in and out. Despite, again, some weeks having only 9 points compared to 30 last week, he still showed up, and he's a monster. He is a monster amongst the men. He is insane. He is not human. What is he? He's not even human. He's like Megatron, but like
bigger.
Optimus Prime.
Yeah.
Easy now.
Are you kidding me? All right. Going to now this is my favorite award, the best waiver wire pickup for the 2020 season. This could be, a multitude of players. And, this is what we talk about every week is waiver wire. So this is a good one. Nominees: Rams defense, Nyheim Hines, Justin Herbert, Chase Claypool, Mike Davis, Robert Tonyan, J.D. McKissick, James Robinson, and Brandon Ayuk. And the winner for the best waiver wire of the 2020 season goes to Brandon Ayuk. Brandon Ayuk got the best waiver wire pickup. Congrats, Brandon. You disappointed me in the last week, but I mean, you were a good waiver wire pickup.
I told you.
Yeah, you did.
I did. I said he's not going to be as valuable.
Nate, how do you feel about this? Do you agree, or do you think it should have been someone else?
I mean, I said how many episodes ago? I said I wasn't as high on him as the year was winding down, but he was a great pickup despite, when Debo went down, he fit in. He played really well against the Eagles. I think that was one of the first few games he started playing really well in. In beginning of the year, I think like week 3. And besides that, I think it's a good waiver wire pickup. I mean, James Robinson, though, if you picked him up and he was there, you had no regrets of, putting him in even your starting spot, let alone probably thinking, I'll probably go in my number 2 or flex spot. Who knows? So, I mean, Brandon Ayuk is such a great choice. I think the only confliction would be James Robinson. I really can't see. I mean, of course, there's other good pickups, except, of course, there's Travis Fulgham, but we're not going to talk about him. but there is Brandon Ayuk and James Robinson, which I think are two. You can't go wrong with either one if you pick them up.
I'd probably have to say him, but I'm really high on Justin Herbert for this one. Having a waiver wire pickup for a quarterback that did as well as he did, he's a great selection. Mike, how do you feel on the matter?
I think it's probably James Robinson's award. I can see why people would choose Ayuk though. Like down the stretch, aside from last game, his last 6 games that he played in, he had 20 points or more down the stretch in each game. Like that's great, and I can see why people would, off that performance be like, yeah, he was awesome for me. And whereas James Robinson down the stretch, was probably failing a little bit at the very end. But personally, it was Corey Davis. He killed it on as a waiver pickup for me, and he 211 ADP, which is crazy. And he had a couple bust games, but it was in tough matchups where you probably weren't going to play him anyway, like against the Bears. And just in my case, like if I really needed him to come through for a win, he picked up like 30 points. He had like 3 of those games during the season where he killed it. So, but I do think James Robinson is probably where this one should go. Running back 4 as a waiver wire.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Sonny, how do you feel on it?
Yeah, I'm right there with them. I had my vote for James Robinson. But, I think looking back at it, I think it's an important lesson for next year. Because if you look at the guys that we talk about waiver wire pickups, Justin Jefferson, Herbert, Ayuk, and even Higgins, those were all waiver wire guys. So I think for next year, it's really important to draft these rookies and maybe stash them on your bench for a few weeks because you could get a league winner like that. So, again, mainly the rookies for me were just phenomenal this year. But I like the Brandon Ayuk call too.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that. And, just if we're going on a weekly thing just for 1 week, if you had Jeff Wilson for the playoffs and you picked him up, that's really good. That you probably won your league because of that. Having him as a running back 2 or a flex, putting up over 20 points. And just picking him at the exactly the right time. So Jeff Wilson maybe on a weekly award. That was a good one in the playoffs. All right, guys. Yeah, Nate.
Can Mike Davis be counted as one?
Oh yeah,
yeah, he was one. He was, and also Robert Tonyan, who I believe is also a Pro Bowl snub.
Okay,
he deserves the respect.
Yeah, I just saw being in that situation. I know he had a couple teams before the Panthers, so coming back in, and everyone was like, "Wait, should we just keep Christian McCaffrey out and keep this guy in?" So
yeah, I have to agree with that. All right, guys, for the big one, the MVP of the 2020 season, the nominees were Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Kyler Murray, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, Patrick Mahomes, Stephon Diggs, Aaron Rodgers, DeAndre Hopkins, and Travis Kelce. This would be a completely all-star team, basically. The winner for the MVP of the 2020 season. Wow. All right. The winner is Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook got the MVP for the 2020 season. What? Devontae Adams, Stephon Diggs, Travis Kelce, and it goes to Dalvin Cook. Yeah, Mike, I know you want to say something.
I feel like this award should just be like the Rocket Richard in hockey. It should just go to the guy who scores the most, right?
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, but that would be quarterback. That would be the quarterback, though. So
right. But that's Mahomes played awesome. He put up 1 million points in every game. You could always count on him. I feel like it should be at least one thing where it's a no-brainer.
Well, see, I'm going to have to disagree with that one, actually, because it's you look at, Mahomes and Kyler Murray, what's the drop-off? Dalvin Cook, Kamara, what's the drop-off? But then you got Travis Kelce, and then, even Darren Waller, it is not as close as the other positions. And after Darren Waller, it's just a giant gap. So I think it matters because, you got to look at how closely the points are, because me personally, the Travis Kelce owner, I would be outscoring them by double digits every week at that position, and that advantage is just absurd. Yeah. So that's why I get mine.
He's leading the league in yards. He's leading the league in receiving yards.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. He's not just a tight end. He could be a flex. If you have a flex, you don't you want to play Travis Kelce. It's not I got to play so and so at a tight end. No, he's a wide receiver 1 playing tight end. So
Yeah,
Guys, why is no one talking about Aaron Rodgers?
I
Like,
know. That
What?
too.
44 touchdowns and 5 interceptions? What?
But just because he didn't score as much as Mahomes, so like,
That's
no wonder-
I don't like that. That's Dookie.
But I
mean,
like
yeah.
I like Sonny. I like what Sonny said because of the strategy part of it, and it's just like
Yeah.
a unique spot on your roster that you have to fill. And when
Yeah.
you have to fill it with a guy who is
Yeah.
hands down gonna destroy anyone he goes against every week, that's
Yeah.
you go into a game with 10 more points than the other guy, easy.
Yeah, just
My
chalk
God,
it in.
like
When they-
over 4,000 yards. Like,
Look into the stats. I'm not sure the exact stats, but it's like the number one wide receiver on average in fantasy football usually is compared to like the wide receiver 20. So having Travis Kelce basically be up there with the other wide receivers in fantasy, that's usually never heard of. So
that's insane. No,
that's
that's
MVP
actually
caliber.
insane. I mean,
Yeah.
my other pick was because no one else was high on him but me, and probably you, was Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
I love Derrick Henry, but again, I think Travis Kelce definitely deserves it.
Disappointment this week. Absolute
No.
disappointment.
I know,
But
duty
what are you
there.
gonna do? But I mean, the rest of the season, he was absolutely phenomenal.
Mhm.
But I mean, that is all the awards we have. The only one left is the Fantasy Aces Playoff Bowl. Yours truly won that because of Josh Allen. Didn't I knew he would do well. Didn't think that David Montgomery would consistently be putting up 20 points. So he was definitely one that helped me out. But guys, it's been one heck of a season. And now I'm just getting excited for this rookie class coming in. It's going to be absolutely great. And we're going to be getting into that in the offseason. I'm excited. But thank you for listening to us. Listen to us on Facebook and YouTube. Also follow us on Inside the Hashes. Check out our Insta and Twitter accounts at Inside Hashes. Also check out our website where you can look at Air It Out and RPO or other podcasts. We'll see you next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Have a happy new year and stay safe out there. And thank you guys for listening to our awards.
See ya.
Go Birds.
You mean